and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. It's time for another team season preview, and this time it's a turn of the Houston Texans. Now, with me, I've got a returning guest. He came on for last year's special. With me today, back with us today, is Graham Henderson, otherwise known as the Kilted Texan. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Andy. How's you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. It was nice to meet you in person for the first time in Houston last year, which is, albeit a short amount of time, but it was still great to meet you in person for the first time.
It was funny how you picked him out in the crowd, because it was quite dark when we left that late night game. So of all the places to meet you, just in the as everyone's flying out of the place, trying to get up the road. But it was good. No, it was a pleasure to meet you, in person. We obviously spoke plenty on socials and stuff, but it's always nice to meet people face to face.
Yeah, because I remember we had a plan to meet. I think it was before the game, right? And then for
Yeah,
one reason or another, I think because you got access to I believe it was because you got access to the front of the bottom pitch side.
yeah,
So obviously there, and I was like, absolutely fair enough. You go and do that, and then yeah, it was so random that out of nowhere, I'm walking with my friend Jack, and literally I just see you in the corner of my eye. I'm like, it's Graham. Let's go and speak to him.
yeah. I know. I was very fortunate at that game to be able to get pitch side during warm ups, see the start of the Thursday night coverage. With like Fitzpatrick and everything, and it was quite all access. You got really close and stuff. So as much as I wanted to meet you beforehand, when these opportunities come up, you've kind of got to roll with it and go
Yeah,
with it.
absolutely, couldn't agree more. I'm sure if I was in Miami due to meet you, and then someone goes, right, you got a chance to be next to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I think I would do the same thing if I'm honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I enjoyed it though. I mean, as you were saying, I've mentioned this before in the podcast since that because of the World Series being on that same evening in the same area. I think it would have been. I think there were quite a few empty seats, but I still loved
Yeah,
my experience at the stadium and in what a stadium that is. And I found it really easy to get to in terms of like there's some I went to obviously a lot of stadiums last year, and there's quite a few like Green Bay, for example, where it was a nightmare to get to transport wise.
yeah,
Whereas we got a subway most days from where we were staying in Airbnb, and we passed the stadium every day, and you could really get there quite easily from downtown. And it was just I found it very easy to get out as well. In terms of the station was right next to the stadium. There's no massive walk to get to the train or whatever. Yeah, I found it really good for just Houston in general. Apart from maybe my journey to the Space Center, overall quite a good place Houston for traveling around.
yeah. You can get around it quite easily with all the beltways and stuff. A lot of ring roads, and yeah, the metro, the way it just pulls up on Fannin, just the next street along, and that's like the back of the tailgating area. So it's not a problem to get there. And I think you were lucky as well seeing the stadium. I really like the night games at NRG. I think the way it lights up inside really adds to, it might look a bit older outside now, but certainly inside it still feels very modern when it comes to like how the pitch looks and how they light it, and they're continually adding to the stadium. So yeah, it's still my home from home, and I get that goosebumps every time I walk out and see it. So yeah,
Amazing. I mean, I'm said before, it's no secret that I much prefer day games in terms of I'm more of a morning person anyway, but I think for that
mm-hmm.
stadium being like an indoor kind of domey sort of feel to it, it probably is better suited to nighttime. I think there's some stadiums where that wasn't the case, like Soldier Field and Bank of America Stadium would be way better to look at in the daytime because you get all the architecture view, you get all the
Yeah,
skyline. But obviously, in this case, because it's got a tractor roof, is that right?
yeah. It does open. A lot of people tell you it won't, but it does open.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's mostly shut just to keep the heat out. I think one season opener they actually had it open. There was a lot of people suffering from heat stroke, and that just with that Texas heat in September, it's brutal, absolutely brutal still. So it is better closed. You get that nice air conny feel to it, so it keeps everyone in check. But it does open, and it is quite cool to see it open on a nice like December day. Just adds to a different element to it. But I'd agree with you. Those kind of stadiums at night certainly suit it, being domey and being enclosed compared to the open stadiums. They need daylight, I think.
Yeah, and the same thing applies to, speaking of Texas, when I went to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, AT&T, that was the same case where, you know, it's all domed anyway. It doesn't really matter whether it's in day or night. But I think there was some, like I went to Tennessee in the daytime, that would have been way worse in nighttime because again you get that architecture, and the same thing with US Bank Stadium. So I think it depends on the stadium, but I think for that one there, I think it doesn't matter either way, and I think it probably was nicer going in nighttime as well because there was quite a few things going on in the daytime. We did the tailgating stuff outside the stadium, like the public, you do the 40-yard dash. You can try and throw into holes. You can do like the, can't think what's called now when you run in those little steps. And yeah, it was really fun. And I know my mate Jack enjoyed it as well. So it was a great experience going to there for the first time.
Yeah, they offer that. I think that it's like a combine-esque kind of thing. They are every game. You know, they've got loads on for fans to interact with before every game. It's not just about the tailgating element. They do have like fan orientated things to do. That if drinking's not your thing, if like eating lots of food at the barbecues and stuff isn't your thing, there is other things to keep you entertained before you actually go in. So yeah, it's got a good mix. I'm obviously biased, of course, but there is other stadiums I've been to that do similar kind of things. They've got different things like the Buccaneer Stadium. I quite liked how they've got like that beachy kind of area outside the front. You know, it's just all inclusive and makes you feel like there's more to the day than just the football. So yeah, there's a few of them got it right.
Yeah, I agree, and I believe I got, I think it was 5 minutes, 5.4. Since I think it was a 5:40 my 40-yard dash time. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. Not too far from Tom Brady, so I'll take that.
Yeah, I've never given it a go, so I'm gonna have to like maybe ditch the kilt one day and just go for it.
Definitely. I mean, wearing the kilt sort of does in sort of, it is sort of, I think you have to wear it because it's part of your who you are and sort of your name on Twitter. But I think definitely give it a go, and I want to see whether you get quicker or slower than me.
Yeah, okay. I'm up for the challenge.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll organise some sort of forfeit as well for the loser.
Yeah, we could have a Top Gear-esque style, like fastest time board start to
Yeah.
appear. You know how everyone does in the dash.
Yeah. You know? And across the pod leaderboard.
Class.
Right, let's head to the off season as a whole. Quite a busy one. Quite a lot happened in the off season. The main outs include the likes of Mario Addison, defensive end. Now, if anyone I have missed out, do let me know. You've traded away Brandon Cooks, your wide receiver, to Dallas Cowboys. Other players I've left in free agency include tackle Greg Little, cornerback Kendall Sheffield, inside linebacker Jermaine Carter, and center Justin Britt. And then there were a lot of ins in Houston this offseason. Not that's just free agency alone. I mean, you've got Sheldon Rankings in, defensive tackle, offensive guard Shaq Mason, cornerback Jimmy Ward and Shaquille Griffin, running back Mike Boone and Devin Singletary, linebackers including Corey Littleton and Denzel Perryman, wide receiver Robert Woods came in, and Noah Brown as well as defensive end Chase Winovich and tight end Dalton Schultz. And in the draft, you took CJ Stroud second overall, the quarterback out of Ohio State. And then you shocked everyone by trading up to the third overall pick with the Cardinals, I believe it was, to take Will Anderson, linebacker out of Alabama. And other ones, there was 9 total draft picks, and as well as that, there was center from Penn State, Juice Scruggs, which was taken 62nd overall. What a cool name that is. Yep. Overall for you, in terms of the ins and outs, player-wise, Graham, your thoughts on the off-season for your team?
I think after the season again, there has to be that cull. There has to be that clear out. You know, new head coach, and he's obviously going to have his own ideas of what he wants to build and make this like the team's identity. So, not surprised that some of the folk exiting there. Brandon Cooks, yeah, obviously wasn't happy through the season. I think they tried to get a trade done earlier on in the year, didn't really come to much. So, not surprised to see him go, but. You know, there's no one that left that I was overly like, I'm not going to lose any sleep on. You know, it's that kind of season again, especially with like the Texans over the last few seasons for me have kind of disappointed the fan base a little bit. There's been a lot of like angry retorts and stuff. Like if you look at social media, it's a lot of negativity. But I think that they've started to listen now to the fan base, and by going out and getting Demeco Ryans was like a statement for me for like where the franchise wants to be. You know, you've seen what he was doing in San Francisco, and because he's a former Texan, what better way than to win over like a disgruntled fan base? Then when you seen what they did in the draft, yeah, they picked this like the best quarterback that was left on the board. But I personally was so shocked when we moved back up and took Will Anderson Jr. because that's something we don't do. Like for me, that's an aggressive draft move for us. But obviously, Demeco wanted his guy as well. It was almost like Nick was like, we need the franchise QB or potential franchise QB because you're never sure. But then Demeco, being so defensively minded, was like, well, we've not been disruptive enough in the defensive side of the ball, so we've got to go out and make a splash on there as well. And after I seen that two picks go in, like the fan base for me just flipped. Obviously, you're going to have guys who say you overpay and stuff, but that's a statement from the Texans that things are changing and they're going, they're really looking to build on the future. A lot of young guys coming in, a couple of roadmen brought in free agency, just to, which isn't bad because you've got to learn off of these guys. But I was, it was kind of cool this off season, seeing all the moves happening and obviously bringing in a lot of guys, casting the net wide on who you're bringing in on free agents and stuff, and seeing who sticks. Because that's sometimes what you've got to do when you're in the position that we've been in the last couple of seasons. We've had a lot of guys who are maybe average at best on most rosters, but those were like our guys who were starters. So I'm encouraged about what I've seen on those moves. Now we've got to translate that to the field.
Nothing screams aggression more than what they did with Will Anderson. I mean, from all people, I don't watch college football enough, but from everyone's told me he was the best player in the draft. And I think that, yeah, you could have had a draft pick next year, but if there's someone that your head coach likes, I think, especially a first year head coach, they're going to want someone in there with them that they can have for the whole time there. And I think getting him in shows him that it's his guy and they can almost work together from the start and be there from the start together. So I think that was really important because you just don't know who's available next year. And of course, it all depends on, you could have had a good season this year anyway, or vice versa with the Cardinals pick. So there's no guarantee you'd have that higher pick next year. So I think it was your one chance, I think, to get that high pick, and I think that was a perfect chance. And Demeco Ryans has a good reputation. He was defensive coordinator for 2 seasons with the 49ers, and in 2021 you were the third best team in the league for yards allowed per game. And last season with him as DC, you were the best for that. So it shows what kind of capabilities he's got. I mean, back-to-back NFC Championship games, where a lot of it was down to their defense winning them games, way more so than Jimmy Garoppolo was doing. So it just shows the kind of job he's done as DC. Now, we all know that doesn't automatically translate to being a good head coach. We've seen plenty of good OCs and good DCs come into the league, probably more so particularly OCs. Actually, maybe both, I don't know. But either way, a lot of people come in as coordinators. It doesn't always work out. So there's a guarantee that there's no guarantee he will come in and automatically be the guy. But from everything you've seen in the 49ers and the start he's made, we saw with Dan Campbell when he first came to the Lions, getting Penei Sewell, or was it Brad Holmes, their GM, one of the two in their first draft, went out and got someone like Penei Sewell. And I think I think it's really good to see early on when a coach does that. And I think it's really encouraging for you guys to have basically the cornerstone, hopefully, of your offense and your defense both taken straight away. Because now, if CJ Stroud works out, I mean, he was my favorite quarterback to watch out of all the ones when I watch YouTube highlights. I liked him more than Bryce Young, if I'm honest with you. So if CJ Stroud does become the quarterback that he was in Ohio State, and also Will Anderson becomes the defensive player we all saw in Alabama, and hopefully you'll see in the NFL. And I think you guys have got literally the spine of your both sides of the ball there, and I think that's really good to see. But of course, it's Demeco Ryans' first year, and not many rookie head coaches make the playoffs in their first year. And I don't believe for a second that's what you guys were aspiring to in the first year. But just what are you hoping for from Demeco Ryans in terms of what you can bring to the team and what kind of season you can have in 2023?
I think I'm looking for him to bring the leadership that he used to bring as a player. It's almost like just calming the waters of the Texans just now. Come in and be consistent. Just play good football consistently. Last season there was ups and downs, highs and lows, spells of good stuff, and then there's some terrible, terrible football. And I know that's not just down to one man. That's down to like the team not being very cohesive at times. But I'm hoping he can come in here and bring his. He's like, from what I've seen of him in practice and training camp, he brings a lot of energy as well. Like players seem to gravitate to him, like they did when he was actually pulling on the 59 for the Texans. He's a leader of men. I believe he was captain when he played for us. He's a two-time Pro Bowler, all team. I think he was Defensive Rookie of the Year his first year. So that to me screams about what credentials he can bring to the team. He's used to competing at a high level, and even if that can transition to some of his players, that'll be fantastic. I'm just looking for us to make a little step up from last year by playing good, consistent football that people want to watch. And then what you find is when teams start to turn the corner on that, better free agents want to come to you. You become more appealing. And I think that's the step that the Texans need to be. I think we've been one of those teams that players on free agency, even if they were getting paid the money, they don't really want to come to us because they can't see where the franchise is going. But I think now with the moves we've made and the statement draft picks, I think they can see that now. And Demeco Ryans is a guy that people can get behind. The noise, no nonsense and stuff. So that really, for me, is where I want to see the team going now. Just by playing good, consistent football that makes other like better free agents and stuff want to come. And you can build on these blocks, and you can just make a better franchise.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that Houston has that luxury that it is quite a desirable place to go. I mean, you've got the Heat, and Texas in general is a place that people like to go to. I think other ones like Detroit probably suffers a lot with that. You don't want to live in Detroit, if I'm honest, and there's other ones. But I think Texas in general draws people in, and I think that you guys, again, if you're winning games, I think that will really help. And I think that's why back in the day, Laremy Tunsil went to you guys because you guys were a team. I know you traded for him, but I think he was one of the best players at the time in his position, and I think for him to want to go to you guys as well just shows when you were winning games back with Hugh shall not be named and DeAndre Hopkins and JJ Watt were all there. It was a team that I enjoyed watching it. I had a little soft spot for the Texans back in the day, that sort of era of the year where you did lose the Chiefs in the division round. That was a team that I really got behind. I loved Watson when he did play, and he was one of my favourite quarterbacks. He was until early 2020, and Watt is one of the best players I've seen defensively ever. Hopkins was one of the best, was the best receiver at the time. I think back when you were winning, it was exciting to watch, and I actually look forward every weekend to watching you guys play, especially when my team were doing so badly. It was a sort of team that I was sort of almost looking to watch to make up for the fact that I was watching my team being so bad. And it's I think if you guys can get back to that, I think you will draw more players, and then therefore it will get better. But of course, that all hinges on CJ Stroud and whether he is the guy. And that's really my next point, because it is only preseason, granted, just 2 games. But I must admit, he's looked pretty bad in those 2 games. But what's your thought been on his start to life in preseason?
Well, obviously he just did not do well in the New England game. He looked out of his depth in that game, and I think Demeco was right to do what he did. He kind of pulled him earlier than he probably would have wanted to. I think he would have liked to have seen more of him, but he probably knew that by keeping him in that situation, the damage that could have been done to his confidence. And I know these college kids and that are like super high on confidence, but if these guys start getting like the yips in early, it can be impactful down the road. So I think Demeco did the right thing taking him out, and it's almost like take a breath. It's okay. We'll go again next week because, well, what was it, like 15 yards or something in the first game? 2 out of 3 attempts, or it was in an interception. It wasn't worth reading, but I think he bounced back against Miami. He certainly played better. He looked more composed, but whether or not that's because he had like Tunzel, he didn't have the same starting offensive line, I don't think. And I think New England there was no Tunzel in that. So he had more of the bigger guys, the more starters and that. Obviously, Titus Howard's still not on that right side, out with the hand. But he looked more comfortable with the starters in. So I think that he did play better. He could have played even better, but let's look at the 2 games as a whole, and there was a marked improvement from the New England game. In my opinion, it was from just the two samples, it was marked improvement. It was far better. He looked a better quarterback there. But let's see what happens against the Saints. They're not going to get a look at him this week because we cancelled our joint training and practice this week. And I think that was pretty clever on the part of both teams probably, because we're playing each other in the season. So how much tape do you want of each other, when it comes down to it? So I think it'll be better that they won't get a look at him. I think Miami might have gotten a good look at him as well, and maybe some of what we were going to try, and that they translated it better to the game than we did. But I think there was a marked improvement. There's still a long way to go. Some of these guys take a bit longer to get up to speed in the NFL. It is a different speed to the college game. So I'm not going to be too hard on him because obviously he's going to have a lot on his shoulders being the number 2 pick. But I think he's got a good QB room behind him that'll help him make more of a transition. Davis Mills has been doing well in training camp from all respective purposes. So he's obviously still wanting his old job. You've got a journeyman in Case Keenum at the back of that. So he's got good QBs that are probably pushing him, but I think he'll be better next week. I think you'll see a more confident CJ next week, even more so after what he managed to do, because they gave him the whole half against Miami. For limiting him, for giving him such a limit in the New England game to then giving him the whole half. That's Demeco telling him, I've got confidence in you. And that 2 moves alone can springboard some guys. And I think it'll probably springboard CJ. He knows he's got the backing of his coach. So I'm not too worried yet. Ask me again in week 17.
Yeah, that'll be the big test. But even if he struggles in this rookie year, I mean, how many good quarterbacks do well now in their first year? I mean, Mahomes didn't even play his first year. Joe Burrow did play and looked good, but then he got injured. Peyton Manning infamously had a bad rookie year. Aaron Rodgers only had a 6-win season in his rookie year, or his first year starting, I should say. So I think, yeah, there's definitely. I think the social media age, there's definitely a tendency to like a lot quicker. I think there's definitely more keyboard warriors out there. Obviously, there wasn't Twitter and all that back in the 2000s or when Manning first came in. So I think he's time. I mean, even now, Josh Allen wasn't great in his first year. Two question mark about his health. But when he did play last year, he was much improved from his first 2 years. So I think even if Stroud does struggle, which I can see him potentially doing because it's not a complete team yet, I don't think even then you should write him off because it is so early on and you got to learn the playbook, got to get used to all different things. So I think yeah, and especially when you got your head coach is defensive minded, it's going to be harder in that sense as well. But when you got someone like Damian Pierce to hand the ball off to, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So, and also like for the way we drafted, we're taking Juice. Juice is obviously the center I think that we're going to run with this year because I think he's more attuned to the run game. So that just builds on our strength because Damian Pierce was an absolute monster last year. So if anything, CJ can, like you say, ride the coattails of that and find opportunities within that run heavy offense if that's the way we want to play it. So I think he'll be okay. And you're right, some of these guys struggle so much in their first years, and we are on the clock all the time, as they say, when it comes to how we expect greatness like right away. Nobody's patient anymore. So you need to give these guys time. And I'm wanting to do that. I'm quite a patient guy. I've not been hammering the Texans too much about not winning a Super Bowl in the time I've been supporting them. So, you've got to be patient. Good things will come to those who wait.
Exactly. Unless you're a Lions fan, then you'll be waiting till you're dead. Right, let's head to the final section, which is going to be our win, loss, tie section. So, for those listening at home who haven't heard my podcast yet, I ask every fan to predict their team's record by going through each game and answering with a win, loss, tie record. Now, Graham, you came on last year. Do you remember what your record prediction was at all from last year?
Oh, I probably had an 8-win season.
You did. You had 8-1, and of course you finished 33-13-1. So you had the tie, right? Which, when people predict ties, is like, oh, that's a bold prediction. But you actually predicted the tie, which is I don't know whether it was the same game or not, but I know the record here shows you had a prediction of tie in that one game.
Yeah, I can't remember what one I thought would be tie, but it probably wasn't that one in the end.
I mean, I have to go back and find it because if it is the exact same game, I have to put on social media or something because that'll be a crazy spooky prediction if you got that tie right as well. That'd be incredible. Considering you got 8 wins, only you won 3, it's that'll be quite crazy. But it doesn't start the easiest way. You're on the road to the Baltimore Ravens. Win, loss, or tie?
I think loss on the road. Very good Ravens team this year, I think.
Interesting. And then week 2 is your first home game of the season. It's to the Indianapolis Colts.
I think we're going to win that. Yep, I think we're going to win it. Colts, I don't think are as strong this year, and I think the crowd's going to be energized for the first home game.
Yeah, that's a good point. Week 3 is on the road, this time to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think Jags much improved. I think that'll be a loss away. They've been getting tricky good. So
okay, and speaking of getting tricky good, Pittsburgh Steelers in week 4 at home.
I'm gonna say I'll win because he's back. JJ's back at that game.
Oh, is he doing his Ring of Honor he's doing?
Yeah, JJ's home. Sellout. It's already sold out. I'm going to that game and the ticket prices are getting mental.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, well, that seems like a lock to me, especially with the Steelers, who notoriously don't start off the best, especially in recent years. They tend to get good towards the end. So I think you're going to play the Steelers. You want to play them early on in the season. So I think that's a perfect chance. That'd be a great spectacle, I imagine, to go to. Seeing JJ Watt getting honoured. You're best of a player by a mile, I think, in your franchise history. So yeah, that'll be someday.
Yep.
Not on prime time, sadly, but still that'll be great for you guys. Week 5 is on the road to the Atlanta Falcons. Bear in mind, it's the week after they played in London.
Yeah, I'm going for a win for us.
Okay, and then
also that one.
You going to that one as well?
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually not too bad. When I met you, I went to Atlanta after Houston. So, yeah, it's not too bad. I think it was like a hour or 2 flight, I want to say, we took to Atlanta. So quite a quick journey. Great stadium. Have you been to that stadium before?
Yeah, that was the Super Bowl that I went to.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
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 So I'm looking forward to seeing it with a bit more meaning. For personally meaning. Yeah. It was a great opportunity in that, but the Texans weren't there, so we'll see how it is when it's a Texans house.
stuff. You mentioned that Saints game in week 6. You're up against the Saints at home.
I think we'll lose to the Saints in that one. Yeah.
Okay. Week 7 is a bye week, so week 8 is a road game to the Carolina Panthers.
I think it's going to be another loss back to back.
So back, of course, that's talking of back to back. There's back to back picks in the draft this year. You got the first overall pick and second overall pick. So that should be, and of course, they're friends from school. Is it school or college? They're friends from? No, must be high school. Yeah. So that's going to be a good day for everyone involved. Week 9 is a home game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I think that's a win for the Texans.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll win that one.
So week 10 is probably your hardest game so far on paper. On the road to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I've got that as a loss.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be one of the best teams this year, so I can see that. You're going from one of the best teams this year to probably one of the worst teams on paper this year in the Arizona Cardinals at home.
Yeah, I think we'll win. I think we'll beat the Cardinals.
Okay, so then week 12 is another AFC South matchup, this time at home to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, I think we're going to beat them in the return leg.
Oh, so you played them, of course, week 3. So yeah, you got the win there. So that means you're going from 5-5 to 6-5 in week 12. It's not a bad start. I think you take that. I think most Texans fans would take a 6-5 start. But in week 13, against Denver Broncos at home.
It's a loss, I think.
Okay.
Although that's one of that ones that's up in the air, but I think it's going to be one of that teams that just has our number for some reason. I've seen it before with like the Broncos when they're not their best, they've still managed to beat us.
I think there's certain teams that have these teams, and it sounds like the Broncos are one of yours. Week 14 is on the road to the New York Jets.
I think that's a loss as well.
Yeah, I mean that'll be good this year. I think I'm definitely buying into the Jets hype going into this year. Mm-hmm. Week 15 is on the road to the Tennessee Titans.
When I was thinking about this one earlier, I had it bracketed for a win, but I don't know, that Titans away, man. It's a tough place to go. So I'm going to put a loss. I'm not going to get greedy.
Well, next one is one that I reckon it's kind of time of year now where actually I think it's one of the best years we're having for NFL action due to the time of year Christmas is, in terms of day of the week. Because Boxing Day, no, it's not Boxing Day, Christmas Eve, you've got a game at 12 p.m. Eastern, and that'll be 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve for the UK fans against the Browns, and a Deshaun Watson Bowl, we should call it.
Yeah, I think we're going to win that one. Yeah. I should be at that one as well.
Oh, really? We're that one. So you're there for Christmas time then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's that'll be amazing.
I'm hoping to get 6. I'm hoping to get 6.
Oh, what? 6 games this year?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. If you can do that, that'll be amazing. That's doing 8 or 9 home games this year, but that's pretty much over half, definitely over half of all your home games. That's pretty much all of them. Yeah. Pretty much only 2 or 3 off. So that's pretty good going.
Yeah. So I'm normally quite. I can be good luck some years. Some years I'm just stinking luck. So hopefully this is a good luck year. So well, I think we'll beat them.
I was saying before that I'm 0-4 Dolphins games.
And I would hate to see my record.
Oh, I would like to see it there. I reckon you should do that for me. That's your homework for this week. To try and find me your overall record at Texans.
I'll try and look back at them all. Yeah, because I've been there for some pretty horrible years.
Well, for me, I'm seeing him play the Eagles this year. Potentially the Chiefs. That's sort of up in the air at the moment. So I'll probably be 0-6 by the time the season ends at live Dolphins games, even in Germany if I go to that one. Now, another one that's good for UK fans, New Year's Eve, 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. in the UK, at home to the Titans.
I think we'll win that.
Okay, so that means you go into your final week of the season with a 9-7 record going into the final game, which is on the road to the Indianapolis Colts.
So last year we should have lost this game, but we won it. This year we'll want to win it and we'll lose it. So I'm going
I
to
like
say we're
that.
going to get beat in Indy.
I like that very much. So in total, then, so looking at your record, you finished with 9-8. Just to correct, this part of the episode is actually 8-9 rather than 9-8. So that means because you are currently our 22nd guest on the show and our 21st team. So you are currently our joint fifth or sixth least optimistic fan.
There we go.
Yeah,
I couldn't even win that.
But that is where we'll end the show today. Thank you, Graham, for coming on, first of all.
No, thanks for always asking me on and stuff. It's always a blast having a chat.
Yeah, always good having you on, mate. And you're always welcome during any time this season and, of course, as the years go on. So, yeah, great having you on. But in the meantime, this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast, and we'll see you for our next season preview, which will be the Dallas Cowboys. See you then.